Hey guys, Roland Hermia with Safe Financial. Just wanted to make a quick video for those of you out there that are already retired or near retirement. So if you're within 10 years of retirement or perhaps already retired, I am speaking to you. And if you happen to be watching this, but you're far from retirement, well, it's never too early to learn. So today's topic is on sequence of return risk. And some of you out there might have heard of that. If so, this is just going to be a review. Otherwise, here we go. Probably the best way to explain what sequence of returns risk is by starting off with understanding average rate of return. So here we go. Take a look at the screen. There's two scenarios here, scenarios A and B. Both will start with a $2 million portfolio showing an average rate of return within a 15-year span of 11.31. So you're starting off with 2 mil. At the end of 15 years, you have 8.137 million in your portfolio based on this sequence of returns here. Now, the only thing different between scenario A and B in this instance is the sequence of returns. So same order, same time frame, just flip. In scenario A, the early years you're losing money. In scenario B, you're winning, but at the end you're losing money. Same basic sequence, just flip on its head. And this just shows that the sequence of returns do not matter so long as you're not taking any money out of your portfolio. So take a look at a different scenario, same set of numbers, but with one change. And now we're talking about the sequence of returns risk. Now, there is no risk with your sequence of returns so long as you're not taking any withdrawals. Now, this is why it's important to do this prior to retirement. Because once you retire and you're not earning any income from your job, you're going to have to start taking money from somewhere. Most of you folks are going to be taking that off of your savings, usually market derived savings, which let's say in this scenario, you've got 2 million. Again, showing you 15 years of return. Sample A, sample B. In scenario A, you start off with 2 million, you take a $200,000 distribution to live on for that first year of retirement, but the market takes a dive. At the end of the first year, starting of the beginning of the second year, you've got 1.5 million left of that 2 million. Well, you still have to live, so you take another 200,000 to live on for that year. But the market takes another dip. After 2 years of distribution of 200,000 and two market dips, you've got less than half of what you started with. Looking at that scenario versus this scenario here where the market did not dip, if you'll notice, going all the way through year 15, you still have 2.5 mil left, even though you took 3 million in distributions over the 15-year period. In this scenario, year 12, you're out of money. Now, all of a sudden, the sequence of return matters. If you'll remember on the previous slide, it didn't matter because you weren't taking any distribution from it. You're still working, you're still earning income. The moment you stop earning income and you have to rely on savings to live, all of a sudden this matters. So before you get to this point, you need to have a plan B. And there's a simple solution to this issue right here, and here it is. What if every time you lost money, you didn't take any money out of your portfolio the following year? all of a sudden, instead of running out of money in year 12, you still have money in your account. And the only difference is on the years early on that you lost, you didn't take any distribution. So in year one, a negative 14% return, you don't take distribution. Year two, you take a loss of 26%, you don't take distribution. Giving you time to recover, your money doesn't run out. So here's the catch. Where do you get this money from? You're not working anymore. It's got to come from somewhere. Introducing you now to what I call the alternative retirement funding source, or ARFS. Called a bunch of different things, volatility buffer, whatever. There's a bunch of different pundits out there that give it a different name. I just call it your alternative retirement funding source for short, just so you'll have a place to take money from that has to live by certain rules or parameters or characteristics. And here they are. Again, the alternative retirement funding source, something outside of your market product that's not exposed to the market. Rule number one, or characteristic number one of your ARFS, it must be removed from any stock market loss risk. In other words, it can't be somewhere where you could lose money, okay? Number two, it must be able to gain a productive rate of return. And what is that exactly? Productive rate of return to me, anywhere between 3 to 6% is what's to be expected. Not sexy, mostly single digits, but on the average over a span of time, between 3 to 6%. So rule number one, must be removed from any stock market loss risk. So you can't lose money in this bucket of money. Number two, must be able to gain a productive rate of return. Again, between 3 to 6 is acceptable, that you don't lose any money, okay? Number three, it must be fully funded prior to retirement, or you must have a source to fully fund this bucket prior to retirement. Let me repeat that. So if you've got time ahead, you save enough money into this bucket of money and fully fund it before you pull the retirement trigger. If you ran out of time and you're about to retire next year or 2 years from now, and you don't have time to build up this bucket, well, maybe you have another bucket of money somewhere to fund this bucket of money, so you can have a backup plan that's not exposed to the market, that's not going to lose any money, going to gain a reasonable amount of return over time, and it has to be fully funded. Why? In this scenario here, where you lose money in the first year of retirement, you've got to be able to pull money somewhere else, or you lock in your losses. Here's an example. You own your house. The market dropped 200,000. Have you lost 200,000 on your house if you didn't sell? The answer to that is no. Unless you sell your house, it's not a loss. Same here. If the market is down and you don't take distribution, or you don't sell that share, you haven't lost anything. It's just a paper loss at this point. Okay? So going back to this. It has to be fully funded in case year one of retirement, because you don't know, unless you can buy a crystal ball on Amazon, you don't know when that down year is going to be. So you have to be prepared for it, because if that happens to be year one, instead of taking money from your portfolio that's in the market, you gotta grab it somewhere else. Okay, so it has to be fully funded. Either you had enough time to fully fund it because you did it before, way before retirement, or you have to fund it right before retirement from somewhere else, fund it, and you'll have it in this bucket where it's removed from market risk, it has a decent rate of return, and it's fully funded by the time you retire. Rule number 3. Rule number 4, it has to be accessible, tax and penalty free. All right? Because whenever that is that you have to draw from this, let's say for instance, you need 100 grand a year to live. If the bucket you're gonna pull the money from has to be taxed, and you're gonna be penalized for taking it out, now you need more than 100,000 because you gotta cover taxes and you gotta cover the penalty. If the taxes are 30% and your penalty is 10 and you need 100,000, you need to pull out about 140 to get 100,000. So it needs to be a bucket of money that's tax-free to withdraw. And you cannot be penalized when you take the money out. That way, when you take 100 out, you're actually able to use 100,000 to live on. Okay, so let's review. It has to be free from risk. It has to be able to grow safely with a decent rate of return. Not going to be double digits. What's number 3? I'm forgetting on the program. Number 3, it has to be fully funded before retirement. Again, if you have 10 years before retirement, you better start putting the money in that bucket now. Okay. If you have a couple of years left and you have a bucket of money somewhere else, you need to fund it now, before retirement. And requirement number 4, it has to be accessible, penalty-free, tax-free. That way, the money you take out is money you use, not you have to take this much money to use this much. Now it's not the time to do that. You have to do that before retirement. So, what's the number 1 question in everybody's mind? What's the catch, right? Usually, they're telling you something like, you can't lose money, you can make a decent rate of return. There's got to be a catch. Well, there is a catch. Yep, there is a catch. You do have to qualify. Not everybody qualifies. And you want, if this is something that you're interested in and you want to learn more about it, write that number down, scan that QR code or message us here, and we'll be happy to schedule a 15-minute consult to see if what we do can help what you guys need help with. If it's a strategy that you think might fit your needs, or there's something you want us to help you with, reach out. Again, Roland Jaramillo, Safe Financial. You can reach us at 504-338-3668 or scan that QR code. We'll leave it up for a few more seconds so you guys can scan it, set up a time, and if you have any questions, send us a question through the chat or through messaging, whatever you're watching this on, and we'll be happy to respond to it and reply to you as soon as we can. Thank you for your time. We're going to stop the recording of this and see you next time.